You're listening to Weight Loss for Life Coaches, Episode 31, with Master Certified Life and Weight Loss Coach, Paige Bowman.
Welcome to Weight Loss for Life Coaches, the weekly podcast for coaches who are growing their coaching business and on their weight loss journey. Each week, we'll be tackling why weight loss feels hard and how to make hitting your weight loss goal the simplest thing you do all day. Today, we are going to be talking about how to know when to get started or to get back started on your weight loss journey if you've taken a break or put your goal on the shelf for now. This is going to be a good one, y'all. If you have been listening to this podcast for any amount of time or any amount of episodes, then you probably know I'm not going to just give you the answer to when to get started or how to know when to get started, because I want you to be thinking about how will you know when it's time to get started. You probably already have some idea of how to know when it's time, and you might be looking out for how to know when it's time, but actually not have those filters in place. So that's where I want to start today. I want to start with how to know, or how you will know when it's time to get started. And the way I want you to think about this is come up with some filters to decide how you'll know when it's time to get started. And then you can run your goal through those filters. So for example, think about how many big goals you want to have at one time. I know I have put out an episode on this podcast called How to Have Two Big Goals, because I wanted you to know that it's possible to have two big goals, like building your business or growing your business and losing weight, what I would consider two big goals. But if you're a person who wants to have just one goal going at a time, then maybe your filter will be dependent on hitting that one goal. And then that will be a filter you can use to know, okay, it's time to get started on my next big goal, like weight loss. Or if you're like me and you like having two big goals and you like having those two things that you're balancing and you're all for it, then maybe, and really if you think about having two big goals, they could be any two big goals that you want them to be. So maybe one of those is building your business, another is growing a family. And your filter is, when I hit one of those goals, then I'll work on my weight loss. So then say you hit a big goal in your business, and then you're going to let your business just maybe acclimate to hitting that goal, and then you'll work on weight loss and growing a family. Or maybe you had a baby and you're feeling settled and becoming a parent, and you're still working on your business, but you're like, okay, I feel settled in motherhood and bringing this child into the world. I'm ready to start with weight loss and continue growing my business and being a parent. So you could use having a goal or having two big goals and let that be your filter of, okay, once I finish this one, then I'll start my weight loss journey. I like to think about it in this way. I like to do this with a lot of things because I am a person who does like to have two big goals going at one time. But that means it's important that I'm clear about what's on the shelf. And what I mean by that is, okay, this is something that I do want to get to eventually, but I'm putting it on the shelf. I can see it's there. It's like a book, right? I could put my book on the shelf. I know that it's there. It's there for me to pick up when I'm ready. But right now I'm reading this book or these two books. Or if you're anything like me, I'm reading these 5 books. And it's not time to pick up this other one. But what's nice about this filter being one that you use and you run your goals through is knowing that just because it's on the shelf doesn't mean you're forgetting about it. So say your two big goals are actually losing weight and building a business, which is what we talked about in that episode. And then maybe another big goal that you have on the shelf is, coming back to that example, growing your family. So you're building your business, you've got your weight loss goal, and you've got growing your family on the shelf, and you know you're going to get to it as soon as you hit this goal or this goal, right? So it's this idea of you have all these big goals you want to hit in your life, being abundant in there's plenty of time and I'm enough right now, even if I'm not working on that goal, and my life is amazing now, even if this goal is on the shelf. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to take my goals through this filter of, have I finished this thing? Am I ready to work on this next thing? So that's one filter you can use to decide when to get started and if now is the right time. Another filter you could use is if you're doing this with your family, with your partner, or with your friends maybe. And you could say, all right, y'all, this is something I want to do. I want to involve you. I want us to do it together. And you could use them as your filter of when to get started. So maybe you and your partner talk about it and you decide, okay, at the end of summer, this is what we're going to start doing. We're going to start working on eating healthier, losing weight, moving our bodies, making better food choices. And we're going to do this together. Or maybe your partner says, you know what, I actually want to wait till next year because I'm working on this other thing. And then you can decide, all right, then I'm going to wait too because I want to do this with you, or I want to go ahead and get started now. And here's what I'll do for now. And then when you're ready, we'll do this next part together. So you could use when your partner's ready, or just having them in mind, or your family or your friends, and having them in mind when you think about when it's time to get started on your weight loss journey. Another filter you can use when thinking about how to know when it's time to get started is using your intuition, or whatever word you want to use for feeling it in your gut or knowing it in your gut, whatever that saying is. And I would not underestimate this. This one is important to me. And I know that when I have an idea, especially thinking about the first filter I talked about with knowing that I have two big goals going at one time and the rest of my goals are on the shelf, what I do is I'll look at those goals on the shelf and I'll think about the goals I'm working on. And for me, it's not just, okay, I'm finished with this goal, I'm going to work on this next thing, but I also use this filter of feeling it in my intuition, really feeling, am I ready? Do I feel like this is the time in my life where I want to work on this thing? And I like this idea of letting things be on the shelf, because then you can think about what it would be like to get started on that journey, what kind of commitment it would take, how much energy it would take, how much of an investment, whether it's time or effort or money it would take. And thinking about that before it's time to take it off the shelf is kind of nice, because then you can kind of feel it in your gut, feel it in your body, play around with it, and then know that when it's time to get started, you've already really kind of thought about how it's going to feel and what it's going to take. And then when you can feel like, yes, this is the time, let's go, I'm ready to get started, then you get to grow closer in your relationship with yourself when using this filter of using your intuition to decide if this is the thing that you want to go after or not, if this is the right time or not. For my husband and I, we kind of worked through this when it came to buying a house. We thought years ago that we would have bought a house within 1 or 2 years of moving to this new city that we live in. And we hadn't really sat with it or talked about it. We just kind of both assumed that's what we would do because that's what adults do, right? They buy houses. But I don't know, time just passed. It didn't feel right for either of us. And we didn't really talk about it too much, but we both kind of understood that we weren't feeling it. Like it wasn't sitting with our intuition. Like our intuition wasn't telling us that this was the time in our lives to go and buy a house. And I know I personally worked through a lot of thoughts I had about myself and what I thought other people would think, which, by the way, no one cares. That was some good practice for me on working through my thoughts about other people's thoughts. Goodness. So that's a good example of we were using our circumstances to make this decision without really checking in with our filter of our intuition. But then we kind of caught on that we just weren't feeling it. It wasn't feeling like the right time. Like we weren't feeling it in our gut that it was time to buy a house. And now that I've recognized that and I have this idea of these filters that I use to make decisions that I'm sharing with you today. Now I know that it's not just about, for me anyway, and for my husband, it's not just about have we hit these goals or is the circumstances the best they could be for us to buy a house, but it's also how do we feel about it? And have we thought about the investment it's going to take, the commitment, the change it's going to take, the energy? And let's make sure we're ready and it feels right to go after this thing. And that kind of leads into another example of a filter you can use to decide is really thinking about the time and the energy and the monetary investment into the goal. So have you thought about the changes that you're going to have to make to lose weight and lose it for the last time? And I know I talk about weight loss being something that you can do. It's simple. You can do it with ease. It can take less than 5 minutes a day or 1 hour coaching a week, like I do with my clients. But it still does take changing your beliefs, letting go of old beliefs, putting on new ones. And that does take a commitment. That does take maybe energy or effort in working through those old thoughts, putting on those new thoughts, and then pairing that with taking action and doing the 3 steps, right? Making your food plan, writing it down and honoring your plan, with checking and honoring your hunger scale and fullness scale, with allowing and processing your emotions and urges. All of those things is going to take an investment. And when you think about the goal, right, and it's sitting on the shelf, not just thinking about what goals are you working on, not just thinking about your intuition, but also thinking about the investment it's going to take and getting yourself ready to commit to that. And so that's that last filter, is thinking about the investment and the commitment it's going to take. And then what's that thought that's going to create that strong commitment to get ready to go after that goal? So when you think about, when do I get started on my weight loss journey? Or I've put my weight loss journey on the shelf for now. Maybe I lost some weight, gained it back, got really disappointed and let down, and decided to just put that on the shelf. No, I'm not giving up forever, but I'm not going to deal with it right now. And if that sounds like I know what I'm talking about, that's because that's definitely been me before. And so whether it's when do I get started or when do I get started again because I've put it on the shelf, think about using these filters to decide, and then run your goal through these filters, right? When you're finished with another goal, when your partner or your family is ready, when you're feeling it in your intuition, think about the investment, the time, energy, and monetary investment, and then think about the thought that's going to create commitment for that, for going after that goal. And then run your goal through those filters, and then you'll be way more certain that when you go ahead and take that goal off the shelf, when you go ahead and say, here we go, this is what I'm doing, I'm committed, let's go, you can feel certain that that is a time, and then go forward, spending zero time wondering if this is the right time, and spend zero time doubting that maybe you should put this off for later. That's what I love about this idea of running your goal through these filters, is you're building up confidence and certainty in yourself that, all right, I've decided it's time to go. Let's go. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose 25 pounds. This is how I'm going to do it. And I've ran it through these filters. I've created that thought that's going to create some strong commitment for me. I'm feeling it. Let's go. As I was thinking about how I wanted to have this conversation with you about how to know when to get started, I knew it would be important for you to be thinking about where you are today when you make this decision and where you'll be 6 months from now. So I want you to think about these 2 powerful questions. I know it's not the end of the episode, but I have these 2 powerful questions I want you to think about and kind of run through your answers, and also let this be another way to know when it's time to get started. So the first one is, what would be the impact today if you get started now? And the second question is, what would be the impact 6 months from now, right? So today, 6 months from now, if you get started, right? So what would be the impact today if you got started now? It kind of goes back to, what changes am I going to be making on a daily basis? Am I going to be doing this or this to lose weight, right? What method am I doing? Kind of what we talked about in the episode on how to plan out your weight loss journey. What's the investment going to look like, right? So you are thinking about what would be the impact today if you got started, but I don't want you thinking just about what kinds of things will I be changing, what will I be doing, but like think about your relationship with yourself at the beginning of a goal. Think about how it feels knowing that you're going after that goal. I remember when I first learned about this idea of over desiring food, and that's the reason why I was eating so much. And then the idea that I could stop doing that, and it blew my mind, which is, of course, what I teach my clients. But when I learned about that, I was like, okay, I'm going to set my goal. My goal is to be 135. I'm going to lose 25 pounds. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to use this method with this coach because I can feel it. This feels so right for me, right? Kind of that intuition filter I was already using back then. But I remember getting started and I remember thinking, this feels monumentous. Is that the word? I think I just made that up. Momentous. Wait, now I need to know. Okay, I 1000% just made up a word. I had to Google it. That's one for the books. Okay, momentous. That's what it felt like. That this was, I was changing the game for myself. Like I could feel the trajectory of my life changing just by getting started that day. So I want you to be thinking about what would be the impact today if you got started now? And then what would be the impact 6 months from now, right? This day in 6 months, what's going to be different because you said yes today? So answer these questions and think about what's going to change today? What's going to be different about me in my life 6 months from now? So now you have your decision filters, right? Either you've used the ones I've offered you or you've come up with your own. And you can even think about how you've made decisions in the past of when to go after a goal or when to do this big thing or not. And then you have these two powerful questions and you answered what would be the impact of getting started today and what would be the impact of that 6 months from now. And then go ahead and ask yourself, why get started now? And then why wait? And then look at your answers and then you get to decide, do you like your reasons to get started now? Then let's go. And then look at your reasons to why you would wait. And do you like those reasons? And then decide to put the goal on the shelf and have your back. Because here's the thing, there's no right or wrong answer. It's what's best for you. I know how your life will change when you get started on this journey. 1000%, I would stake my life on it. But I don't know when the best time is for you to get started. But what I know is if you think about it in this way and you take a look at your decision filters, you check in with yourself, the other things you're giving your time, energy, and money to right now, and then you answer those questions of the impact, and then you like your reasons, whether to do it now or to wait, I know that you'll know and figure out the best answer for you. And that's what's important, right? And then have your back. When you decide, whatever you decide, if you decide it's now is the time, let's go, then have your back. And when it feels scary and you're like, what were we thinking? Why did we get started? Then pull out your answers to those questions of the impact today and the impact 6 months from now. And remember, you love your reason. You have your back. You can decide to have your back. If y'all can hear the lawnmowers outside, I'm so sorry. Dang it. And then here's something that I don't think that people talk about or you'll hear people talk about. But if you don't start now, if you decide to wait, if now is not the time to get started, here's what I want you to think about is be willing to be where you are now. Be willing to be there in 6 months because you decided to wait. right? It doesn't have to be a problem that you decided to put weight loss on the shelf for 6 months. But in 6 months, when you're the same weight, don't make that mean that you messed up or you made the wrong decision. It's so important. Again, it's having your back, right? When we decided to not buy a house, every year that we renewed our lease, I had the opportunity to be mad at myself, mad at my husband, to make it mean that we made bad decisions. I could just go on. But every year, and it's almost our time to renew our lease again, I have the opportunity to love where I'm at, to love that decision that we made, and then give ourselves in 6 months to make to make the decision again, right? Evaluate, recommit, redecide, kind of like, again, what we talked about on the how to plan out your weight loss journey episode. Give it a go, give yourself a space or a time to evaluate, and then either change what you're doing or recommit to what you're doing. So be willing to be where you are in 6 months if you decide to wait, and don't make it a problem. This would be amazing practice in having your back no matter what you decide. And then kind of on this point of if you decide to wait, or say, what are your filters is doing this with your partner, and your partner says they want to wait until after the new year. And you're like, okay, then got it, I'll wait too. But here's a question you can ask yourself is, what could you work on in small ways, even while you wait? So could you go ahead and start practicing doing the 3 steps? Making your food plan ahead of time, writing it down, and honoring your food, right? Doing it realistically, not changing your food, just being a person who's practicing using their prefrontal cortex, making decisions ahead of time, and being someone who follows through with those decisions. Could you work on that over the next 6 months, which I think would be an amazing thing to do? Going back to buying a house in that example, something that I've been doing is building the skill of organizing things within my house and building up that skill, because when we live in a bigger house, maybe even twice the size of my apartment, I'm going to be glad that I worked on something small. Well, really, it's not small, but something like being organized within my household will make it a lot easier to stay organized when I buy a house. And I'll be glad that that was something that I worked on while I wait. So what could you work on in small ways if you decide to put that goal on the shelf, if that's something that you want to do? You don't have to do this, but I just wanted to offer that to you as an option. I had a conversation with one of my clients. It was her last session, and I asked her why she was glad that she got started when she did. And she told me that she wouldn't be where she is now had she not got started with me 6 months ago. She probably would have continued self-sabotaging and really finding any reason to punish herself with food. That was something that we really worked on. And because that's what she had been doing up until that point. And so when I asked her, why are you glad you got started? She said that this gave her the momentum she needed, that shift she needed to be someone who did something differently, and then will continue to stop doing that thing and be different, have that different relationship with herself for the rest of her life. And it got me thinking that no matter what, whenever the time for you is to get started or to get back started with your weight loss journey, just know that the trajectory of changing your life, as soon as you do get started, it will be different and it'll never be the same again. Like the moment, I want you to think about, you're going down this path right now, and the moment you decide it's time to get started, let's go. I'm going to go lose the next 25, 50 pounds, however much. This is going to be the thing I focus on. I'm ready to go. I'm committed. Let's go. The moment you do that, you have forever changed the trajectory. It's no longer that path. You've went to the left or to the right a little bit. And now you're going down a new path. And on this new path, you're going to change your relationship with yourself and with food and your body. And you're never going to be the same again just by getting started. And my client's comment is so on point, right? She wouldn't be where she is today had she not gotten started. And so I want you to think about that whenever it is best for you to get started, if it's now or if it's 6 months from now, you will be changing the trajectory of your life and you'll never be the same again. And the you who will answer that question, why am I glad I got started 6 months ago, will give all the reasons why you got started when you did. Okay, that's it for today's episode. We talked about your decision filters. How will you know when it's time to get started? Creating those and then using those and running your goal through those filters so that you know when it's time to get started. And then we talked about the impact today if you got started now, and the impact 6 months from now if you got started. And then we talked about why now and why would you wait? And no matter what, having your back, whatever you decide, and really practicing that skill of having your back the entire time. Either I decided to get started or I decided to wait. And anytime your brain offers to you that you made that wrong decision, you say, I hear you, brain, but nope, we made the best decision and we're going to have our back and continue to believe that we made the best decision possible. That's what I want you to take away from this episode, is not that there's a best time to get started, but that no matter what you decide, to have your back on your decision. That's the skill you're really building here. And I want you to give yourself a try to start building that skill. So I hope you love this episode. If you did, you love the podcast, give us a rating on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review and tell us how much you love this podcast so other people can find it as well. And if you want help, if you're like, my reasons to get started now, I love them, let's go, and you want help losing the next 25 pounds, getting to your weight loss goal, then reach out to me. We'll work together one-on-one and we'll go through my simple weight loss coaching program where I take you through my 5 steps. So if that's something that you want to do and you're interested in, then you can either send me an email at hello@pagewoman.com and let me know you're interested, or send me a message on Instagram at lifecoachpageb. All right, y'all. I hope you have an amazing week and I'll catch you next time. Bye.